So this today's topic is very important to understand. So be carefully listen. Okay, so how to initialize the object? There are three ways to initialize the object: by reference variable and by method, and also by constructor. So this constructor we will take in the next class, because the constructor is again a full day topic. So we will take this in the next class. So we will cover this two topic today, by reference variable and by method. Okay. So with the help of reference variable, what we are trying to do, we are trying to initialize the object. Okay. We are initializing the object with the help of reference variable. So suppose there is a class animal which has a two instance variable. Okay. In other languages, these are called global variable, but here it is called as instance variable. In Java, we call it as instance variable. Okay. So color and age, these are two variables of string type and integer type. Then we have main method, where we are creating an object. Okay, creating object, I have already told you that we have to write class name, then object name equal to new keyword, and then constructor. Clear? And after that, I am calling with this, with the help of this object, with the dot operator, I am calling these instance variable. Okay, so not only method, we can call the variables also by dot operator. Okay, and we can print it like this. Okay, system dot out dot println object name dot color, and then object name dot age, whatever is there. So clear, everyone? I will show this in the Eclipse also. Okay, so we have this animal class. Okay, inside this we have instance variable. As I've told you, this is instance variable, string, color. Okay, and then integer, age. Okay, so how we call, wait, I'll just delete this. So inside this, this is a main method. Okay, inside this, I want to call this color and I want to use it. Okay, like this, I cannot use it. Why? Because these are instance variables. So if I wanted to write color equal to black, I cannot write like this. It will give me error, right? So cannot make an instant of this. Okay, now for writing this, what I have to do?
Create an object.
Create an object. Very good. So we will create an object of animal class. Okay, so we'll write animal equal, sorry. Then we have to write a or any object name. We can write any object name, then
New animal.
new, and then constructor. Very good. Animal constructor. Okay. So now with this a operator, we can write a dot color. A dot color. So it is giving color. Select it, and then we can write a dot color equal to black. Okay, so string, this is a string. So always remember that string will come in codes. Okay, we cannot write string as black like this. Okay, like we write it in the integer. We have to always give it in a code. Okay. Then next is integer. So a dot, oh sorry, age. So a dot age. This is also coming in the drop down. Always select from the drop down. So this is the age. So age is an integer. So we don't have to give the codes here. Okay, because it's an integer, we are not giving any codes. Now, if we want to print this variable, what we have to do? SSO. Then the same a dot color, Same thing you'll write here. Don't copy paste. Okay, right here. I'm just copy pasting because I want to show it to you. Then you want little gap. So just gap and concatenate. This for concatenate, we are writing plus. Okay, then a dot age. Okay, like this. So what it will print? Black and 20, correct. It's the console. Okay, black and 20. Clear, everyone? So this is how you can call a reference variable. You can initialize the reference variables. Next is initialize a variable by method. Initialization the object with the help of method. Okay, now here I have written all the things like instance variable, local variable. These are all local variables. This is very important to understand. Okay. What is local variable? When we are creating any method, okay, any method we are creating inside a class. So that time those variables are like local variables. Okay. This is called initialization. I'll show you. Then left hand side is going to right hand side. The value of right hand side is going to left hand side. That time it is called as initializing the value. Okay. So what value? Suppose we have given this color as black and age as 10. Okay. So this value is going to this particular variable, and this particular variable are assigning the value or initializing the value to the instance variable, and instance variable is we can use the instance variable and we can print it here. Okay, I will show you it in the Eclipse now. So suppose I'm creating one method here. Okay, initialization. So what is the syntax for method? Access modifier, right?
Public.
Yeah, public access. This is an access modifier. Then return type.
Return type.
Return type. So we are not returning anything. So we are writing here void. Then comes the name. Name of the
Method name.
Method name. Correct. So method name we are writing initializing the object. Okay. Okay. And here we are initializing the two objects. These are the two objects. So we are giving here also two because we wanted to initialize these instance variable. These are what? These are
Instance variables.
instance variable. And here we are writing the string C and integer A. So these are
Local variables.
Local variables. Very good. Local variables. So what we have to do here? We are initializing the value of local to the
Instance.
instance, correct. So color equal to C and age equal to A. Okay, so this is called as initialization. Now in this main method, what we are doing here, we are calling this method. Okay, we are calling this method as like object anyways we are creating. So we are creating object, then a dot this method initialize on. See, it is coming automatically. So we will select this. Okay. Here we are passing value as black, and here we are passing the integer as 10. Okay, now what is happening
Maybe I
here?
have one question.
Please be on
Is,
mute if you are not
is it
talking.
possible object and also
Yeah.
local variable is same? Yeah.
Sorry, who is saying? Can you come again, Gopi? Yes.
Uh, we create local variable a, right? A is equal to a, and also our object name also same a. Is it
Let
possible
me
or
explain everything, then you ask question. Okay, Gopi?
okay?
One sec. I'll
Okay.
explain it, and then if you have doubt, you can ask question. I am not yet
Okay.
done. Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
Otherwise, it will be like I have not yet explained, and you are asking question, then it will be confusion for me. Okay, let me explain everything, then you ask question. So what I am doing here, I am just passing this variable to this local variable. Okay, and I'm giving that value to the instance variable. Okay, now here I'm creating one more method, which is also public, void, and display. Display where I want to display this values. Okay, now what I'm doing here, I will do sys out, and then I'll just write here color. Here, because this is an instance variable, I can call it here without any creating of any object, but I cannot call it in the main method because this is a static method. Okay, I will teach you about the static also, static keyword. Why in static we cannot call these instance variable unless they are not static, we cannot call that. We will cover it in our next class or maybe next to next class. Okay. But here we have to understand that we can call the color like this only in the non-static method. Okay. And this we can concatenate. Okay. And will it print? Will it give the output of like color and age right now?
No,
No.
no.
Why?
We have to call the method in the main.
Correct. We have to call the method. Okay. We have not called this display method yet. So it will not come. Okay. Very good. Now I want to explain one more time that what we are doing. Okay. In the main method, it will start from the main method. Okay. What we are doing here in this main method, we are creating an object. We are calling method, as I have told you. How we'll call this method? By a dot operator, and by calling this method, right? With the dot operator, we are calling this method, and
Class
we are
name.
passing the variables. And this one more important thing is when you are passing any local variable in your parenthesis, okay, we are passing a variable. This is called as passing a variable. Your your variable should be on the same pattern. Okay, like if you have called string, it should be first string. If you have called integer next, it should be an integer. If this you can sequences change, it will give error. Like if you are putting here a black and then then comma. First you have put integer and then string, it will give you error. Okay, so the sequence should be same. Clear, everyone? So
Ma'am,
sequence,
A dot is a rule, like no other, I mean, letter. A dot is a rule to call like this?
whatever object name you have created. If you have created any C object name, so it should be all C. Okay.
Oh, okay.
This is
Okay.
about your
So-
object which you have created here in this line. Okay.
So
In this
depends
line,
on object, right?
sorry.
It is like depends on object.
Yes, object which you have created with this
Yeah,
class name with
okay.
in the line number 21, as we have discussed in the last class, that how to create object. We have told that any name we can write it in your object. It doesn't mean that you have to write.
Ma'am,
uh,
I don't get it. What's the point of, adding these local variables C and A when we can just
just a minute. Huh?
in object method? Then what's the point of
Yeah.
adding C and A and two other variables to it?
Correct. So what we are doing, we will be, right now we are learning in an easy way. So after that, we will be learning that how we can make this as color only. If I write this as color on, right now we are learning that how we can initialize the variables, right? So this is not like you are going to do only this much work, right? You have so many things to do when you go to the project. This is not like, this is a simple thing which we are learning, but you have to learn simply how to write the complicated thing, correct? So what is your question? Why we are writing
I
here?
think the question was,
Hmm.
I think the question was, she was trying to ask is, why create object in the first place?
Why
No,
create?
I'm okay with the object because why introducing two more variables C and A when we could just create the object writing string in place of C, we can write the color and comma integer age, and this
Yeah,
thing
that's what
won't
I'm
be there.
answering, that we wanted to call a method. We wanted to call a method. We wanted to write, or we just don't want to write everything in the main method, right? Here you can see main method is very clean. Yeah, you
Yeah.
want to say something?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, ideally, I think we want to input from the screen or from a file, right? So you don't know what that details is going to be. That's what I think the purpose of it, right, madam? The variables A and C, she's saying, why can't we put the age directly?
DNA.
Yeah, because the
Yeah.
reason is we are going to be inputting from the screen, so we don't know what the age is. We don't know what the name is, right? So when we get to there, then you'll understand the variables hold important spot, so you can reference it by variable name.
Yeah, but Gary, in that
Yeah,
case also you can use the scanner and input the age with this age variable only.
Where do you put the scanner?
mean,
we
you
can
can-
pass multiple variables, I mean, multiple data at a time. So with that variable, we can pass anything, like any input. We can pass
Variable is
dynamically.
just a container, right? It's just a container, right?
Yeah, but C and A are also just the variables.
Yeah,
Right,
actually,
it's a
sometimes
container.
what will happen, string or integers are more lengthy words. So we want to shortcut them. So that's why we put like
No,
that.
she's saying, why can't we
Okay.
hard code,
Yes,
let's say
Sayed, you
Shankar
want to say
and
something?
Yeah, if we hard code, like it's a kind of we are restricting the code, right? So we should write a code in a
it works for anybody. Yeah.
yeah, it works for any kind of string data and any kind of integer data. So if we are very sure, I think we can pass it, but that is not the suggestible way, I guess, as far I know. Like if we
Yeah.
declare the variable it as a string, like parameters as a string or integer, we can pass any kind of data at any time. Like dynamically, we can pass the data, whatever based on our user
Right.
requirements, then we can pass the data. If we are hard coding means we are restricting that program to work only for that input data. So we should always write a code in an optimistic way, like it should work for anything.
Okay.
Okay. Correct.
Yeah.
Correct, Aruba. So right now we are hard coding it, but no later point of time you can also send it that with the help of scanner. So that time you can write write your color, write your age, like that you can write. I'm just giving you the easy examples as everybody is not, known to the IT field. So that's why.
Madam, can I add something?
Yes, Syed, you can add here.
Thank you for giving time for me. The main confusion is about the method, ma'am. There is public void into object, initialize object string in this one. We have different kinds of method. For example, first the void is return type is, for example, he is not returning any value. If you put integer, it is the output of the method, what the method gives to us. If, for example, if you wanted to use the data of this method for the next method, then we have to use return this method, which is output. When we come to the string C or in integer A, they are we call them parameters. We have method with default parameters. We have method for single parameters. We have method for double parameters. We have method for any different kinds of parameters, which we call them parameters. The parameters are the input, what we get inside of the method. Now, these parameters can be a local variables. These local variables can be resolved inside the method, which you declare them. This, for example, color equal to C. Then you assign them and you declare them as clear as possible. Then in here is we just string C initial A, they are called parameters. This method is two parameters, parameterized method, because it has two value. Then two value can be input and can be used as inside of the method. Or I want to give you a real example and real world example. For example, you want to get the data to read from your database. Database has a table. Table has a row and column. Then you wanted to get the cell value from your table. Then you put like a string, like integer, whatever the cell column, like column and row value. Then you can get it, the input data from your database. That is what we need to use parameterized method here. Then the output, if you're going to use this the data of this method for the next method, then you can use instead of void any return type. Then it's be the output of the method. Then each method has an input data. Each method has an output data. Output data of the method is the void. Input data of the method is parameterized keyword that we use string and different kinds of primitive data type. That's what I understand. I hope I can solve the confusions.
Yes, Syed, very good. So as Syed has said, this is for the input data and this is for the output data. Okay, like that you can even understand. Like for database and all, maybe you are very, it's very in initial stage for understanding all those things. But yeah, in the later point of time, we are going to have the, database frameworks and all those things. But right now, here we are inputting the data and here we are giving the output for that data that we can learn, like as Syed said. So what we are doing here, we are passing variable. Why we are passing variable? Now can anyone say why we are passing variable value to here? We are
Because
learning.
we are using the instance variables in the method.
Correct.
We can't use instance variables inside the method because those are outside of the method.
Correct.
If we want to use those instance variables, we have to declare inside the method using the values.
Yes, we have to use a value. Because with the help of instance variable, we can directly print it without even calling them in the main method. Okay, and we can directly print it. Okay, very good, Lakshmi. So everyone clear with that? Try this program by your own. If you have any doubt, we will discuss it in the next class. Okay, coming to the next point. Okay, can we continue with?
Madam, can I ask you?
Yes.
Is this the program that you were working on, right?
Yeah, this is
on the top, int object, right? Int integer object. What do you mean? Initialization object of object.
Yes,
is
method.
it
This is the method. Yeah.
initialization or int?
This is the method name.
Anything you can write it.
This is the method name.
No, but what are you trying to convey there by saying int obj?
Initializing the object.
Oh,
How to
initializing
initialize
is INIT. INIT,
okay.
not
It's just a
most
shortcut.
people think it's integer. Yeah, yeah.
No,
Correct.
int object is in.
Okay, like right now. Okay, initializing.
Right.
Not
Thank you, ma'am.
yeah.
So just one small thing, ma'am. This initializing object method you created, that's with the arguments, right? Basically.
Yes.
So string
That's
C and integer A are the arguments you are passing there.
arguments. Yes.
And then, yeah, and then you calling it down in the main method with the values
Yes. In this,
in line
I have
22.
just called that
Yeah.
method and giving the value same as whatever argument I have passed.
Yes, yes.
So, ma'am, so I want to add something to last class, what I mentioned. There is something called scope. So scope is basically if the variable is available in certain block or not. So when you say static for a method,
Mhm.
so the scope is restricted within that block.
Correct.
So right. So we are saying A and B is not accessible in a static method. So that's why we are passing it in. Yes, ma'am.
A and B, you're saying this is local, so they are not anyway. Correct. So we wanted that value to go to the instance variable
To
so
the
that we
to the
can
main
sorry A and
main function, right?
A and C. You are saying A and not A and B. A and C.
Yeah, A and C, we want to send it to the main function, right?
Main function, right? Main function.
But it's not accessible directly, so we're creating a method and passing it on,
Correct.
right?
Correct. Yeah,
Okay.
we are doing that.
Ma'am, can we use this instance variable in the main method or no?
Yes, we
Yes.
can use it. I
Okay,
just showed
these
you,
can be
no?
used, but local cannot be used, right?
No, local cannot be used. Local is just restricted to this method only. We cannot use this local variables anywhere in the other, not even in this method, nowhere. Only restricted to this particular method.
Method. And if you want them in the main method, we have to call the method. In the main, we have to call this particular method, and then they will be
Yes.
used, right?
They
Okay,
cannot used
you.
as C.
Yeah, you cannot use directly,
Use
but
as
through
C.
the
No.
main method
Yeah.
or through this method. Okay,
Yes.
thank you.
We can pass those variables, but we cannot use as like C. We cannot give any value to C again. Okay, we can only pass that argument and give that value here. But if you wanted to write something like A dot C, it will not come. A dot C, if you wanted to give, like I wanted to give the color as green, so you cannot do that. But you can always pass that variable value. Can pass that variable value, and you can only when you are putting it as an argument. I mean, passing it as a parameter.
Argument of the
Then
method.
only.
Okay.
Otherwise, if you are putting here, if you are writing any integer I here, then no way you can initialize or give any value from the main method. No, then it is not possible. Then it is only for this particular method. Okay. Any other doubt anyone have?
Yeah, Chevy, I have a question here.
Yes, Milind.
Yeah, so when you call that initiate object method, so you put it like you give a value as a black for the color, and then
Yeah,
sorry,
here.
a black for the
Okay.
fee, and then age as a 10. But in the console it says 20. Like, did you run the program or
No, I haven't run the program.
Yeah,
Sorry.
yeah, okay. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Any other doubt? Okay, so we can go to the constructor part also. Okay, by method we are all done. So we have time, so we can go to the constructor part also. So constructor. Okay, so all this is, everyone has all these PPT, right, with them. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. So constructor. What is constructor? Constructor is a block similar to method, which is having the same name as a class name. Okay. So if we have a class as test, okay, suppose we have a test class. Inside that, if we have a public void test. So here the test is method, but it is not a constructor. Why? Because constructor do not have any return type, not even void. So if we are writing only public test, then only it is a constructor. Otherwise, this will act as a normal method. Okay. So constructor don't have any return type. So this is a constructor. Here, test is a constructor because it doesn't have any return type. And why it is not having any return type, that we will come to later point of time. So constructor have only access specifier and the name of the class name with open and closing parenthesis. So this is called as constructor. Okay. Constructor look as the same as method, but it is different from little bit of method, because method syntax is what? Access specifier, then return type. But here there is no return type, only name of the method, which is same as the class name. Clear, everyone? Any doubt here? Okay. So constructor only have 4 access modifiers or specifiers, anything you can say: public, private, protected, and default. Okay. And how to run, call, or execute the constructor? So it executes automatically when we create an object. Okay. So whenever we create an object, it will automatically execute it. Okay. How? I will show it to you. So suppose we have created a test, and here we are created a constructor. After that, main method, and we, with the help this object we don't need to create. Okay, here we we have, when we are creating an object, we don't need to call it. Okay, it is automatically calling the constructor. I will show you in the Eclipse now. Okay. So what I will do, I'll create one more class in batch 12. Okay, batch 12 as source file in this Java package, Java program package. I'll create one more class, which is a test class. Okay, and I'm including the main method here. Finish. So what I am telling about the constructor here. What is the syntax of constructor? Only access modifier
Public
and then
test.
test. No return type. No return type is required in the constructor. Okay. So suppose I have written here constructor. Okay. Okay, here I have written constructor. Now what I will do here, I am creating a object here. Test T equal to new
Test.
test. Okay.
Then
So I don't
T
need
dot.
all this T dot test. Okay. T dot test is not required. Okay. If I execute this particular program, see the constructor is already printed. Okay. So you understood the first line, that constructor, it execute automatically when we create an object. Okay. So it executes automatically. Execute means it is called. We don't need to call it like usually we do it for the other methods, right? T dot test, like that we are calling. So that is not required. It will automatically execute this program. Why? Because this is already been called, correct? So this is a constructor only, and we have already called it by creating an object. Are you clear my point? So here we have already called this constructor when we are created a object. Okay. So that's why this whatever we write it inside a constructor, it will automatically comes even though we have not called this particular constructor. Okay. Clear? So we don't need to write this line. Now, why we create a constructor? Okay, why it is required? What are the need of the constructor, and why we use a constructor in Java? So all these questions will be answered in this particular program. Okay, so why we create a constructor? So suppose there is a class employee who has a 2 instance variable. Okay, so instance variable we have learned just now. So there are 2 instance variable in this main method. We have created one object. Okay, so what object do? When we create an object, what object will do is it create a memory in create a memory with E1. E1 is the object which we have created with all the instance variable as null. Okay, so that a particular object will do. Okay, that create a memory with all the instances. See the name, employee ID with some null value. Okay, here why it is null? Because it's a string type, and here it is 0 because it's an integer type. So similarly, if you have all the information about your employee, which you have given the instance variable, it will store it as a null. Okay. Why it is store it as a null? Because we have not given any value right now. Okay. If we give the value, it will store it as a value. Okay. Suppose we are giving some E1, E2. So if there is another employee, we have to create another object, and for that also it will store a null value. Okay. But if we give some value, so if I've given that name as Chavi and employee ID is 101, so what it will do, it will store that particular, as I said, we have not given any value to it, it is storing null. But if we give any value to that particular variable, it will store as that variable. But if we are hard coding it, it will take all the objects will take the same value. So this is not a good practice program. Okay. So what we have to do, we can also make it employee 1 equal to like we have created E1 and give the name to that particular variable, instance variable E1 dot name, as we have learned this right now.
According to the object, we are giving the values.
Yes,
The
according to the
variables.
object, we are giving the value to E1 Chavi 101, E2 ABC 102. Okay, but for that we have to write so many what you can say, if we are creating, suppose 500 employees are there
Objects.
Yeah,
yeah,
write that
so we
off
have
all
to
of
create
them.
so
all
these
objects
2
for
lines
that
we have to create. So this is also a
bad practice.
bad practice, correct?
We are using for loop. Yeah.
Yes, either we can do looping or we can write a constructor for that. Okay, so what we are doing here, we are writing a constructor, here employee constructor, and we are passing the values string name and integer employee ID. Okay, now okay, this keyword we have not yet done. So what we will do, we will write name here different and employee ID different. Then what we are doing here, we are passing the value of our name and employee ID in the constructor only. Okay, in the constructor of employee only, we are passing the value. These are called parameterized constructor. We will learn about how many types of constructor are there. But I'm just showing you that we are passing parameter here, and directly we are giving that value to particular variable. Okay, as we have seen when we are initializing the object with a method, correct? So the same thing we are doing here with the constructor. We are initializing the value with the constructor. So these are instance variable, these are local variable, we are passing the value. But the only thing is here we are passing in the constructor. Okay, I'll show you this in the Eclipse.
So
So-
even if there are 500 employees, we will still
Mhm.
be writing 500 times, right?
Yeah, object anyway we have to write, but we are not writing this even dot name, even dot these 2 lines we have saved, right? These 4
Okay,
lines
okay.
actually. In this in 2 object only we have saved the 4 lines. Okay. I'll show you how to do that in Eclipse. So I'll create one more class with name employee. Adding the main method. Okay. What here? What I have to do here? Tell me. I have to
Instance.
create a constructor, right? Constructor of the name as same employee. And we are passing the parameter here as, okay, first I have to write the instance variable. String
Name,
is, okay, and then
integer,
integer employee ID.
ID.
Okay. Then here we are passing string
Spring.
and
integer.
integer E.
ID or something.
Okay. Right now we can give the same name also, but this keyword we have not yet used, so I'm not writing it right now. So name equal to N and employee ID equal to E.
E.
Okay, so what we are doing, we are just passing,
Passing.
initializing the value from here to the instance variable. Okay, so to local to instance variable, we are just initializing the value. So always remember that right hand side value will go to the left hand side. Okay, so this is the rule for any programming. So whatever value is there in the right hand side will go to the left hand side. Okay.
Ma'am,
Yes.
the EMP ID is a variable, so they usually recommend snake what do they call it? Notation. So it doesn't have capital E. It's a small e and a small I. there.
You can write it like that. No, correct.
Is this case
That
sensitive?
you,
Java
yeah.
Program or
No, it is not case sensitive. Anything will work,
Okay.
but yeah, as I've said, it's a notation value. So integer value is, but anything you can write, it doesn't matter. But yeah, it's good practice that you follow the notation signs or notation things so that you know that this is a variable name. Okay. Coming to the object, we have to create an object. So employee E1 equal to new. Then we are passing the construct. So if we write like this, it will give error. Why? Because now we have written a parameterized constructor. So we cannot write like this.
parameters.
Yes, Shruti, you want to say something? You have raised your hand.
Yeah, can you hear me now?
Yes, yes.
Hello?
I can.
Yeah.
You can hear you.
Actually, yeah, in the PPT, actually, you are showing that this dot variable, right?
This dot, because we have not
it
yet
is-
covered this variable. That's why I have just skipped that. We will cover this variable
Okay.
also in the later point of time.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I had a question related to that. Maybe I'll ask later then.
Yeah, this when we cover this variable, sorry, this keyword, that time we will solve, we will answer your question. Okay. So right now this
Okay, yeah.
this keyword we are not yet covered. So I just keep on what we have done in the last program. So I'm just keeping it like that. Okay, so we
Okay, okay. Yeah.
we need to pass the variable because it will give error otherwise, because we have now made this constructor parameterized, so it will not take without parameter. Okay, so what we have to do here, we have to pass our variables. So name and age.
Values now, Mr. V.
Those
Yes,
are values, yeah. Values for the variables.
value. Sorry, I said something else. Yeah, pass the parameters. I don't know what I said. Sorry. Yeah. So values you have to give it to the variables. Correct? Yeah. Okay.
No, pass it to the constructor. Yeah.
Okay. What I said, I don't know. The only thing is we have to pass that variable to that particular, pass the value to this particular variable, okay, in the constructor. Clear? Okay, sorry if I said something wrong. Okay.
If
Now
we are in your place also, we are also, having that confusion. Just we are giving the values to the variables. So you are saying
Right.
variables.
Yeah, correct. So we are just giving the value to these variables. So A, B, C or anything you can write, then comma, and then you can write this. Okay. So clear, everyone, that we can now how we'll display this. That is not covered in the program. Right? So that is not covered in the program, that how you will going to display these variables. Okay, so what you have to do, you have to write a method here.
Display method.
Display method, which we have covered in the last program. So what we have to do here, access modifier, public, return type,
Point.
and then this
Display.
name of the method, display. Okay, and then what we have to do,
System out.
oh sorry. Okay, then what we have to do, sys out, and then just give the name, concatenation, and then you can write age. Okay.
EMP ID. EMP ID.
Okay.
Is the ID.
Sorry, age, not age, sorry. I was in last program only. Okay. So what we have to do here, how to call this display, E1 dot display. I have to call 2 times. Okay, E1 dot display, and then E2 dot display. So what it will do, it will first print the this line, and then it will print this this
Second
value, and then it will print this value. Okay, clear everyone? Any doubt in this program? Now you can ask. I am done with this explanation, and now you can ask the doubts. Okay, so what it will happen? It will optimize your programming. See, this is very clean thing, right? Otherwise, if you write even if you have to write 4 lines for this particular thing, not even 4, you have so many information about the employees, like name, employee ID, no designation, all those information, you have to write it so many lines. So this will reduce your efforts, and you can directly print it like this. Okay, you can display it in
Or
the,
we can make an array of objects too, right? Madam?
yes, array of objects also, we will learn that also later point of time. But yeah, in that array, you have to write the variables, and then initialization, that there also it is there, but I'm just telling you the use of constructor. Okay, that's why we don't need to call any method, because it is calling by itself. right? So it is calling by itself. We don't need to call any method. We just need to give the values to the variable and it will print it. Clear, everyone? Okay. If you have any doubt, just write it down, these programs by your own. If you have any doubt, you can always ask me. Okay, now coming to the, this is very important topic, you know, what do you say, why we create constructor, what are the need of constructor, and why we use constructor in Java. So all these answers, I think you got all the answer of these questions, that why we create constructor, because constructor is called by itself. So we don't need to call it, and we can pass the parameters in the constructor. Okay, so all these are the qualities of constructor. That's why we use it in the Java, and in Java only we have constructor. No other language I mean C, C++, we don't have constructors. Okay. Now coming to the next point, how many types of constructor are there? So we have learned, like there is an no argument constructor we have seen, and parameterized constructor we have seen. The first is default constructor. Default constructor means we don't have any argument and it is generated by compiler. Okay. So right, as we have seen that in normal programs, we don't write any constructor. There is no access modifier. It just call by itself. When we create an object, the compiler create a constructor in that memory. Okay. Like this, test, open, closing parentheses, and this open and closing brackets. That's it. So this is the constructor which is created by the compiler when we are writing any object. So that is called as default constructor. Okay. And when we write any constructor, that time default constructor is vanished, and whatever we write, that will be the new constructor for that particular program. Okay. And when we are parameterized any constructor, then again, default constructor is gone. You cannot write any default constructor. As we have seen, we have to give any parameters to the constructor. Okay. If there are both the constructor, then it's fine. You can use any which ways. That also we will learn. Okay. So suppose this is a no argument constructor. We are just passing no values here. So this is also a user defined constructor. Okay. If we are just writing this line and there is no constructor, then it is a default constructor which is defined by the compiler. Okay. So this is a user defined constructor, and then default constructor will be vanished. Okay, then it will be like only user defined constructor. Okay. Then this is a parameterized constructor. Okay, so as we have seen, this is a wrong statement because we have now parameterized it. So it will pass some value only, then only this is correct. Okay, because once the constructor is created by user, compiler will not create a default constructor. Okay, as I have said, the default constructor will be this, will not be any. Once the user has created constructor, default constructor is not in use. Okay. Clear, everyone? Any doubt? Okay. So yeah, this is also very important topic, and this can be asked by the interviewer. Like constructor do not have any return type. Why? Okay. So these are the two reasons that the constructor is not having any return type. So the main function of the constructor is to initialize the object. That is why there is no return type. Okay, so this is as I've said, initializing the object is the main function for the constructor. So for that, there is no return. It cannot return anything if you are just initializing the objects. Okay. When the compiler create a default constructor, that time compiler will not able to judge the return type. So there is no return type for the constructor. Okay. When compiler, see, when you have a default constructor, as I've shown you that compiler is creating a default constructor, that time you cannot judge, like you cannot explain to the compiler that I want some integer value or some, string value. So that time you have just created a object. So that's why there could not be any return type for the, that's why there is no return type for the constructor. Clear, everyone? So this is also an important interview question for all of us, that why we don't have any return type for constructor. So you have to give these two reasons, that the main function or main work for the constructor is to initialize, and that's why there is no return type. And another is the compiler has a default constructor, and and they cannot able to judge what will be the return type for the return type. So there is no return type for the constructor. Okay. Very important topic. Okay. So we have covered the constructor here. So can someone read this? This is like a summary for what we have learned today. So Shruti, maybe you can read this for me. Is that okay? If you are okay, or Aruba. Am I audible to everyone?
Yes,
Yes, ma'am.
I will.
Yes, I can read.
Yes, ma'am.
Constructor is a block
Hmm.
having same name as that of class name.
Yes.
Constructor does
Clear this
not,
point?
yeah, same
Yeah.
class name, the constructor also having the same name.
Correct. Correct.
Constructor does not have any return type, not even void.
Clear? Clear this point? Any doubt in this? No, right? We are clear that there is no return type for the constructor, not even void. Right. Next point.
Constructor only have 4 access modifiers: public, private, protected, and default. Static, final, synchronized, extra cannot be used in constructor because there is no return type. That's why.
Correct. Correct. So static final we will learn later. But yeah, this is also a access modifier, but it is not used in constructor. Right. Next point.
Constructor executes automatically when we create an object. Okay.
So constructor execute automatically when we create an object. This also we have covered. Okay. Next.
Use of constructor in Java. Constructor is used to initialize the object, not to create an object.
Correct.
Yeah,
So this is
it's
also
automatically
very important
initialize the
point.
object instead of we have to create the object.
Create an object. So don't get confused that constructor is used to create an object. No, it is not a creating an object. The work of constructor is to
Initialize the object.
Okay.
Okay.
So this is also a very important point, and it is asked by many interviewers that what is the use of constructor? So they say that creating an object. No, not creating an object, initializing the object. Okay, next.
Types of constructor in Java. There are 3 types of constructors. One is default constructor, no argument constructor generated by compiler.
Correct. Default constructor doesn't have any argument. It cannot have any argument. It should not, or it should not, or it cannot, okay, have any arguments. Okay, because it is generated by the compiler. Next is
no argument constructor.
No argument constructor. This is also a very important interview question, that what is the difference between a default constructor and a no argument constructor? Because both are no argument, right? But
Yeah.
what is default constructor, which is created by the compiler? And no argument constructor is a no argument constructor, but it is created by the user. Okay.
User.
So that is the difference between these two. Okay.
It means no argument means no parameter.
No
There
parameter.
no
Yeah, we are not
parameters. Yeah.
passing any value. We are not
Parameters. Just open parenthesis only. Okay.
and close
Open
parameter.
and close parenthesis.
Yes.
Third one is last one, parameterized constructor. It means you have to initialize the parameters inside the parenthesis. Okay.
Correct. So this is the parameterized constructor where you can pass the value, you can initialize the values to the instance variable from local variable, all those things which we have learned today. Okay, so clear everyone? Any doubt? So next topic is this keyword, which we will do it in the next class. Yes. Any doubt for this particular?
Yes, Shavi. So for the default constructor, do the user create it, or it's just like by default?
No,
Like,
no, that's what. This is generated by compiler. User
So
create whatever is user
System.
create, then it will be a no argument constructor.
okay. So do you see in the program, like, do you have any example? Like, if I'm writing a program, so can I see whether I have created a default constructor or
Yes.
something?
No,
Okay.
no, you cannot create a default constructor. See, when we are creating the, see, I'll tell you, this is a constructor, correct? This is a constructor which I have created. Okay, even though if I delete this, this is created by user. Okay, so you cannot write that, say that this is a default constructor. No, this is a no argument constructor. Okay, no argument constructor. Okay, this is not a default constructor. Default is when you are not even writing this. Okay, when you are not writing this, then it is a default constructor, which is created by the compiler. Okay, got my point? Any doubt?
There is no code for default constructor.
Come again.
Right, ma'am?
I didn't get you.
There is no code necessary for default constructor.
Yes, yes. There is no necessary. There should be no code. Okay, there should be no code. Then only it is a default constructor. Okay, then this is called as default constructor. Okay, because we are not
But
writing
to
anything.
create
Just
an object,
default.
it means indirectly create an object.
Yeah,
That's
just
a
we have
default
created an
constructor.
object. That means we have there is a default constructor.
But
Okay?
there will be no variables or anything.
No variable, because this is a no argument constructor, right? So default constructor is always no argument constructor and generated by compiler.
So why do we need that?
We should know that this is a default constructor. We should know that these are the types, because it's an interview question that what is default.
Right. No. My question is like, why do we use that in a program? Like an example that we will use default.
No, because we
To
have created
initialize
an
an
object, no? Yeah, anyone has this answer?
Yeah, let me answer that, ma'am.
Yeah, sure.
So anytime an object is created, you need memory allocation, right? That's the part of the memory allocation, as in you're creating variables inside the object, right? Like, for example, age, name. So allocation, usually the memory that is needed for that is done by the constructor usually. And few other important things. I kept it very simple. I hope everyone understood it.
Yep. Yeah, got it. Thank you.
Yeah, constructor makes sure you are coding. It's a shortcut with that you can call the other methods. It's less coding, less time. For example, if you write a program, you can write 10 methods. By constructor, you can write like 5-6 methods like this, because it saves your time, it shorten your code, and it also it's save confusion.
You can add things to the constructor, but that's not the main purpose. The main purpose is just allocation of memory, mostly.
Yes, correct. Clear your doubt? Who
Yes.
asked the doubt? Yeah.
Yes, I'm good. Thank you.
Yes. So we are done for today's class.
Yeah, Chavi, are these presentations placed in Google Drive?
Just a minute, I'll stop.